Okay, it seems like we're live. This is Raythe at Raythe Rain. It now again is not allowing me to see how many people are on. Oh wait, it might. That's good. All right, it's now showing me that. That's all good. Hi guys, my voice is a little rough today due to allergies. I am literally being like smacked in the throat. So we will see how we will see. There might be a lot of Diet Coke breaks. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Kelly. Nice to see you guys as always. For those of you who are new, although I think we are going to get our standard favorites, but I am trying to get more people to be here for the live portion so I can get more questions because I love hearing those from you. Alex says, hello, let's get this party started. Hell yeah. That sounds like a plan. Like I said, my voice is just trash today. So you're gonna have to forgive me if it's not real good. Um, allergies, shakes fistat. Anyway, so we're gonna hopefully have chapters 17 and 18 read by me in parts. I am, like I said, my voice is a little hard. It's a little bit bad. So if we get to the end of the first chapter, and honestly, I'm I'm struggling and it's not fun to listen to, we'll just do more questions and stuff like that, and call it a day. And I will make up for it next time. Yeah, I'm like clearing the throat here. Um, hey Sophie. Sophie says hello. Kelly says allergies suck. Yeah, seriously. And they've been like, I don't know if I've normally had them in July like this, but they have definitely been something. Um, for those of you who are members, which it looks like most of you are, all of you are, I know I am behind on answering comments on the site, and I hate that. But I am in the midst of finishing book one of Cinders and Ashes, and literally every spare moment that I am able to write, I'm writing that. It's much bigger than I thought it was going to be. I don't yet have what my end is, and I'm aiming for 45,000 to 50,000 words, and I might be close to that already, and I am not anywhere near done. So I'm like, ugh. Kat says allergies are bad here. Yes, they are very bad. She and I were both suffering yesterday as we devoured ribs. That was fun. That was the best rib recipe I've ever done. Alex says, I bought a Khoth t-shirt. You rock. Thank you. So Sylvia did those. She designed those. I actually got a Cali tank and a Empire of Stars tank. So I am very much enjoying this. So Lo says hello. Pam says hello. I say hello to back to all of you. Our usual way of doing this is that I sort of talk and say, and we all talk in the comments until a little bit after 2 o'clock, and then I start reading because we want people to get a chance to filter in, which is fun. Um, which is a good time. Sophie says, "Oh wow, book one of Cinders and Ashes is almost done already." Yes, I feel like I say this, and I'm knocking on wood. It's one of the best things I've written. Um, at least in terms of world building for high fantasy, I've always had problems with that, and I am being I it just this world's exploding around me, and I'm just loving it. It's so much more than the tale of Cinderella, and yet I there you will see parts of it, but it's got dark fae, which who have red eyes, and battle mages. We've got a necromancer in there, if you can believe it. We've got, of course, our prince who's now a king, and then our wonderful Finn, who is a half-blood fae, and he's got a secret backstory. So it's very exciting. And it's just been a lot of fun. I just don't know how I'm going to end this first book because one thing that happens in all of my individual novels, and readers hate this, but it's just how it is. They want me to write the full story in one book because they're into it and they want the whole thing. And it's like this full story is going to probably be 500,000 words to 700. You know, it's like, no, you're not going to get that in one book. I know for 2.99. And it's like, but also I'm trying to make individual arcs because I need to be able to get this out in a certain, how shall I say, like time frame. And also, I am totally invested in the site. So my writing for the site comes first beyond anything. But I really do believe Cinders and Ashes is going to be just a real big favorite, like Cursed was. This is going to be a lot of fun. High fantasy, guys, with dark fae, with necromancers, with magic, with romance, with all this kind of secret, stuff. Um, so Kelly says, mowed the lawn this morning, and my nose was running like crazy. Had to stop a number of times to grab tissues. Yes, I might be having to do that as well. Although most of mine is like running back into my throat, which is why I'm having a tough time. Lois says, can't wait for Cinders and Ashes. Yes, by the way, members, I will be requesting probably around the 1st of August, around that time frame, as soon as this is done for proofreaders as usual. So you guys will get it first to proofread, and then of course members get it before it goes up on the site, and they get it before it goes up on Amazon, and they get it free as part of their membership. Marina says, need Cinders and Ashes. I love deepening the lore of early two-dimensional fables. I know. I mean, there's such a great like framework, a skeleton to hang stuff on. It's fantastic. Sophie says, consider me super hyped for Cinders and Ashes. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I'm really loving writing this thing. Kelly, I did have a question about the name of your cat. Was it based on Pokemon or the sound of a meow? Just curious. It's the sound of meow. She talks constantly. She's asleep right now. And I will get a picture of her up. It's just funny because as soon as I reach for my phone to take a picture, she runs away. So that's why. So she mews a lot, like mew 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 mew. I mean, she talks. She's a talker. Alex says, too bad about the allergies. They suck. Mew, take care of this woman. She needs snuggles. I do. And the problem is, of course, she will get on my chest and put her butt in my face, and that will be when I'm reading. So she will enjoy that. Alex says, wait, what is Cinders and Ashes again? That is the new individual book series, Alec. It's based off of Cinderella very lightly. And it's going to be available for members in August. So look forward to that. Kitty says, you didn't tell me about the necromancers. No, because I just realized last night that this one individual who is sort of like the king of the Alcuvial Empire is a necromancer. And that's the secret of his power. Crystal says, hello, Raythe. Hello, everyone. How's everyone been this week? It has been an interesting week. I think mine has been both good and bad. But mostly good because I tell myself, I'm healthy and my friends are healthy and we're all good. So that's been good. Everything else is just window dressing and does not matter. Shaylina says, I'm here and I'm off today. Yay, you not working, yay! But she will be doing chores as she listens since I couldn't for the last 2 days. She's been fighting a migraine and headaches. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. That's really just awful. Yeah, I've just had these allergies every day and they're just sapping me. And whenever you don't feel well, it's just like it colors everything. Marina says, please shortlist me for the Cinders proofreaders list would be the perfect birthday gift. Yes, Marina, you did an excellent, excellent job of proofreading the last book of The Vampires Club. Thank you. I will definitely, but make sure you just email me as well. Okay, so Saya says, hi, I'm sleepy tonight, but I couldn't miss the reading. I know it was like 4 a.m. for you. I'm like always impressed you're here. Alex says, yes, I love this idea. I think he's talking about Cinders and Ashes. I hope you enjoy it. I think it's, like I said, I'm really proud of my world building in this one. And it's one of those things that I think you guys as readers, but also as anyone who is an artist will know there's some things where it seems like you're just telling the story, where you're, where it's all just there and you're just reaching for it. So Titus James Goodman says, yay, back at ya. Shaylina says, can't wait for Cinders and Ashes as well. Been looking forward to it for last month or so since I've read about it on Amazon. Yes. I had to put up the pre-order. I do that both as a way to make sure that I meet my deadlines and keep up, but also because when on Amazon, that ecosystem requires you to do constant releases, which I can't do. because my focus is you guys on the site, and that's fine. But it keeps interest, so people know there's another book coming and all that kind of stuff. But in truth, it's for me to make sure I get it done. Kelly says, I am a cat lover. Me too. Cats are like potato chips. You can't have just one. Oh my God, I know. Though you can have one if you are limited in space and financial circumstances. I wish I'd gotten two cats when I got Mew, but there were not. The only other available one there was, they weren't, it was like a Persian and it was like hugely expensive. And I normally get them from shelters. But I've had a dickens of a time, or individuals. But I had a dickens of a time getting one last time. The shelters were like, fill out this 50-page form, sign it in blood, and I was like, this is getting crazy. And there was a family-run pet shop. It's not a pet mill or anything like that. Who had Mew, and I saw her and I loved her, and I just couldn't leave the place without her. I had already said, okay, I'm getting her, and I was with a person. I was getting new things for her, and this little girl, she goes up and she says, pointing at Mew, "I want that one, Daddy." And I just whirled around, and I can't believe I did this to her father. I said, "Your daughter can't have that one," and he's just like, "What? What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Because she's mine." Yeah. So me, I just beat down a little girl for Mew. Alex says, my friends have a cat named Peaches who had terrific farts that would clear the entire floor. It was horrible. Oh my God. Oh my God. I've had cats that snore, but not the farts are rare. Good Lord. Okay, so we're at 2:04. Let's give it like another minute or so for just to make sure people are settled. Get your drinks, get your popcorn, get your questions ready. You can, once again, talk about anything. Ask me anything. Talk amongst yourselves. Mm. Like I said, we are going to hopefully be able to do chapters 17 and 18, but my voice is really bad. So I'm definitely going to get 17 out for you. I'll do my best. But you don't want to be sitting there wincing every time I'm talking either. No one wants that. No one wants that. So, here we go. Oh, Carolyn says, "Hi, a rainy day and a glass of wine, fruit cheese crackers, and listening to you. A great afternoon." Oh my gosh, Carolyn, I want to be with you. Alec says, "Fresca," and I say, "Diet Coke." And people say, "Raythe, get, tea with honey." And I'm like, tea is water gone bad, even though I know they're right. Melissa says, "I'm so excited for Cinders and Ashes." I'm so glad everybody is. I am too. I'm gonna this next week. I'm having my system upgraded, my televisions, my receiver, my modem, my router, everything's being updated to prepare for the PlayStation 5. And I'm also getting a gaming computer since I am never taking a trip again. That's my treat for the rest of existence. And so my friend George is coming to put that all in. So during that time, I'm literally solidly gonna, if I'm not writing for the site, I'm writing Cinders and Ashes. Saya says, you should see the. Oh, Crystal says first, Diet Pepper. I understand. Saya says, you should see the requirements they have for adopting pets here in Japan. It was so complicated that we basically gave up. Then I accidentally saw my pup, Kohaku, in the pet store. I know, super bad, but I felt so hard for her. I felt the same way. I mean, I understand, you're not supposed to buy them from pet stores, but so long as they aren't like puppy and kitty mills, a pet store is a place where pets are. But they, in all honesty, in Evanston too, that there were, for the pandemic, a glut of animals that needed to be adopted. I was willing to do a group of older cats, but it was like they treated me like I was suspicious and not worthy of a pet. Saya says, "I love coffee, tea, and ginger ale." I think those sound like really good for you, even the ginger ale. I like chemicals, I guess. Although I have gotten into spindrift, as I've told you guys. Kelly says, my family have had a number of cats over the last 30 years, and I've gotten some from the SPCA. The two we have now, Smokey, Land Shark, oh cute, and the Sock Bandit, were in the playroom together when we got them. Oh my God, that's so cute. Yeah, my next cats, although I think Mew will never die, will be I'm going to get two, and they're going to call them Sherlock and Watson. That's my plan. That is my utter plan. So I'm with you guys. Okay, we are actually at 207. I'm loving these comments. Keep making them as I'm reading. I will be looking at them in between. I'm going to break up the readings, probably more than usual due to my voice. And so keep those comments coming, keep those thoughts coming. Any questions you have, it's all good. I love talking to you guys. It's wonderful to be here with you. Kelly says, they are great cats with their quirks. I'm sorry, the names you gave them alone make me just, like Smoky Land Shark and the sock. I love it. I love it. I'm in love with that. Okay. Speaking of in love, let me take a drink here. And I'm going to start with chapter 17 of Empire of Stars. Chapter 17, Blade Dance. Despite his easy words and the surge of adrenaline that had filled him at the thought of using the laser sword, Jace didn't have an easy time keeping a smile on his lips as he faced off against Khoth in the circular area the ship had provided them to duel. The Thafel commander didn't just swing the sword, or rahir, Gehenna helpfully provided him with the Thafel word for the weapon, but literally flipped it up in the air, caught it, and swirled it around his body as though the sword was a silk scarf. He moved so fast that the sword was a blur. Jace fought not to have his mouth fall open. From what I could obtain on his background, Khoth has been training with him here since he was a child of about 5 Earth years, Gehenna told him. Oh, Jace responded weakly. He couldn't exactly remember his own training. His body seemed to think, as his body seemed to, even as his mind didn't. But he was pretty sure even his body didn't know how to do what Khoth was doing now. He had thought of this being a fun and friendly encounter where he would hold his own since he was supercharged. He was wondering, though, if he hadn't underestimated Khoth a wee bit and overestimated himself by a lot. Gehenna was in his corner of the circle, while Thama was in Khoth's, like they were two boxers about to enter the ring. Thama gave him a thumbs up and a grin. He wondered if she thought he would do well or be crushed. Woohoo! Go Team Khoth! Go Team Jace! Thamba pumped a fist into the air. He wondered if she'd read Twilight with her use of teams. The thought of Thama ensconced in her spaceship reading vampire fiction made him smile. His parents, the general, and the soldiers were all around the outer edge of the ring, watching Khoth now roll forward, lift his body up into a handstand with only one hand, then balance on a single finger, before rolling forward again, and flipping up to a standing position. Jace gulped. Could he do that? How could anyone do that? He saw the soldiers elbowing each other as they took in Khoth's uber moves and then chuckled as they looked at him. He'd seen those looks and laughs before at school. Despite his many disabilities, his father had taught him to defend himself with fists, while his mother had with words. While he hadn't exactly been a champion fighter when he'd been at school, he'd managed not to get the tar knocked out of him. Jace gritted his teeth. Here's a little bit more information for you about Khoth, Gehenna prattled happily on, showing him images of documents that rated Khoth's physical prowess. He was ranked first, even above his sister, in all physical challenges. Oh my! And he's won the championship on Hassian with the Rahir. He has some fancy titles like Sword Master or something like that. There's not quite an Earth equivalent translation. You do realize you're making me more nervous now than if I knew nothing at all about his titles, don't you? Jace laughed. He's like a foot taller than me and twice as broad, even with all the new adjustments to my body. Yet despite Khoth's heavily muscled frame, the Thafel commander moved with a quickness and fluidity that belied the layers upon layers of muscle Khoth possessed. At that moment, Khoth had easily dropped into the splits. He was limber too, evidently. And now you tell me he's a sword master, Jace continued. Like, couldn't you have told me that before I agreed to duel him? He is a most formidable opponent, Gehenna agreed, which was, again, not what he wanted her to say. You will most likely lose. What? Jace turned towards her. That was what he thought, but to have her confirm it was sobering, to say the least. The squid head turns toward him. What? No, no, I asked what. First, so you have to answer me first, Jace cried. I am not certain. Oh! You thought your training would be enough to hold your own against him? Gehenna sounded pleased that she had teased this out of his psyche. No, I mean, yes, sort of. You trained me, so don't you know? Jace grimaced. And what I could do worked against the cool in a way, but then again, I can't use Metal Rain against Khoth. Multiple tentacles flew up in the air, and Jace was reminded of one of those scrubbing poles at a car washer. It's actually worse than you're thinking. Worse? Gehenna, you really need to work on your pep talk. Jace squeezed the top of his nose. Gehenna continued waving her tentacles. You see, you've just been changed. You don't know your body's strengths at all, let alone your weaknesses. I don't fully know them either. The training is good, but, well, yeah, that's about right, Jace agreed with her dryly. So why did you ask him to duel again? She asked. He was wondering himself. It had seemed like a good idea at the time. The moment that he had touched the Rahir's hilt and saw the thin laser edge on it, he thought of Star Wars, and who wouldn't want to fight with a sword like that? He hadn't really contemplated that it would be like to face off against someone so skilled. This wasn't going to be the fun tap-tap thing he'd imagined. But if he was really honest with himself, he had thought he would do well because of the training, but now Khoth was flipping the sword in the air again while he stood there like a tree stump. He attempted to put his feelings into words. I was trying to impress Khoth. You like him? Gehenna sounded even more pleased at this. Jace colored. He could feel the heat on his cheeks. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw his parents watching him carefully. Both of them would notice the blush. They would talk to him about it later, he was sure, especially when he lost. They were already freaked out about what had happened to him, and who wouldn't be? And now he was taking up a weapon against Khoth, who they already didn't like or trust. And when Khoth justifiably trounced him, making them believe he should have making them believe he should have any say in anything might be lost. I like Khoth just fine, Jace answered her stiffly, but that's not the point. I'm sorry. What is not the point? Gehenna reached over with one of her tentacles and pushed a piece of hair off his forehead. This will be a most instructive lesson when he, oh, what is that delightful human phrase you've used before? Oh, yes, hands you your ass. Gehenna giggled. Jace winced. She definitely had a way with words. Gehenna, I was trying to impress him so that he'll know it's safe for me to go to the cool ship. Impress? Impress him! Impress the general! Make my parents think I'm capable! Jace grimaced. If you haven't noticed, no one actually thinks I'm up to being the pilot. Losing here will be bad. He glanced over his parents then. His mother's expression was too smooth. She was hiding what she was feeling. She smiled at him when their eyes met. His father was chewing on a nail of his right thumb. He flashed a grin, too. The fact that they hadn't insisted he be examined had probably taken more strength than he would ever know. So if he royally messed up, the strength would drain away, as their trust in him did the same. On the way to the armory, they had asked him question. Oh my God, it just did something. Hold on a second, guys. Here we go. On the way to the army, they had asked him question after question about Gehenna, Osiris, and the training. He'd answered as much as he could, as much as he knew. But maybe he'd been a little too cocky. There was a pause, and lights appeared and disappeared in Gehenna's squid head in quick succession. I see. Yes, I can understand your concern now. That would be bad. Everything you do now has consequences. So, any suggestions to salvage this? He asked. Well, you should try not to lose too badly. She made that sound like a question. Yeah, that's a good idea. Hopefully it's a possible idea. Now he was making statements sound like questions. You could call it the duel, she suggested. No, it's gone too far, and everybody's waiting to see what I can do, Jace said. Your training is quite good, Jace, but Khoth's a master at this, she told him. I think you can hold your own if you allow yourself to just react. Don't overthink. And Khoth does not want to hurt you, so there's that. Jace met that the Fel commander's blue-on-blue eyes. They were unreadable. Khoth wasn't big on showing his emotions, but Jace knew that there was no antagonism there. After all, Khoth had given up so much for him to live, So much that if he thought about it, it made him slightly ill. Not that he wanted to die. No way, no how. But maybe the fact that he'd been allowed to live had made him want to seem like he was all cool, calm, and collected before he actually truly was. But Gehenna was definitely right that Khoth wouldn't want to harm him at all. No, he doesn't, Jace answered with a sigh. But Khoth wanted to see what he could do so he could assess Jace's skills. Jace winced again when he thought of how he had suggested he would protect Khoth. The thing was that he wanted to protect Khoth. He wanted to protect everybody. But was it the smartest idea to act like a badass? Or maybe be a little more humble? You are the pilot. The Osiris's voice rolled through his mind. Yeah, well, Khoth is the sword master. You are the pilot, the Osiris repeated. No pressure or anything. I'll do my best. Jace laughed internally, then sighed. The Osiris did not answer further. He wondered if Osiris would be disappointed in him if he lost. Another person counting on me. Just great. Khoth was waiting for him now. He wondered how one started a duel. Khoth would, of course, know. So, how do we do this? Jace asked as he surreptitiously wiped his sweaty hand on his thigh. At least he didn't have a headache, or was seeing auras, or had the tinny ringing in his ears from tinnitus. No wonder he thought he was invincible. Compared to before, he certainly felt it. We bow, Khoth demonstrated. He bowed without taking his eyes off of Jace. Jace tried to do the same, and instead of the fluid movement that Khoth made, he was stiff and awkward. But at least he didn't fall forward. He switched the blade from his right to left hand and back again. It felt good in his hands, light and balanced. It also felt familiar. He'd done this before. Don't overthink this. Just trust in the training, Gehenna urged. Right, got it. Now we touch blades, Khoth said. Wait, one more question. How do we stop from cutting off limbs? Jace asked. That was the one thing he didn't want to replicate from Star Wars. He didn't look at his parents, though he was sure his father was gnawing his whole entire thumb off with those words. Our suits will protect us, Khoth answered and patted the front of his suit. The Rahir will not cut through the material, though any score marks will show up before the nanomaterial fixes them. Oh, that's good, but, our heads are not covered, Jace pointed out and slid a finger across his exposed throat. Don't go for the head, Thomas supplied helpfully. Great, now I have to worry about cutting Khoth's head off, Jace thought. That is highly unlikely. His speed would seem to indicate he'll be able to block you, Gehenna said. Then she put two of her pincers together. That wasn't helpful, was it? No. We'll have a talk about pep talks later, he told her. We used all of the training manuals I was able to find for the pilot, Jace, she told him. The Osiris has added a lot of stuff to you. I was so proud of you for facing off against the Cool. You were fearless with ice in your veins. Remember that. You'll do fine. Now that was a great pep talk, Gehenna. But that was the truth, she told him, just like the negative stuff. Yeah, I know, but thanks. Jace let out a breath. He tried to empty his mind. His goal wasn't just to not overthink, but maybe not think at all. Don't think about my parents. Don't think about the general. Don't think about the fact that Khoth is a sword master. Don't think. He took another breath as he and Khoth approached one another and touched blades. Okay, that's why I'm going to take a break. My voice is holding up okay, but still. Here we go. Let's see. We have some wonderful questions. Hold on. Okay, here we go. So Kelly, no, Alex says, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of law do you do? Someone who devoured case law during his political science career. So for about 7 years, I was a litigator. And I did a variety of things from products to fraud to, as like toxic torts and all this kind of stuff. Then my law firm imploded. They didn't have a job for me anymore during that 2008 to 2010 time frame. And I was very lucky to get a job at Zurich Insurance. And I know that sounds really boring, but it's not. I work in the environmental department there, handling claims for big companies who have to clean up after they've made mistakes or, toss toxic materials out the back door. So I actually get to, I see if there's coverage. It's very exciting. It's pure law in a way to see if what words mean. And then I help manage the cleanups. So that's what I'm doing now. And I absolutely love it. It's been a wonderful experience. It's a wonderful like side career. I mean, Wraith Rain to me is my main career, but I'm working at Zurich for many reasons because I do enjoy it, but also of course healthcare. God knows in the America, and also I never want to compromise what I do creatively because of fear of not being able to pay my mortgage. And also, I am a believer that the boss eats last, meaning that I need to make sure that all of my people are being paid first, that I'm paying them, as much as I can. I never can pay them enough for what they're actually worth, to be honest with you. But they eat first, I eat last. So that's sort of how I make sure that I'm not ever in a situation where I have to, not pay someone or, not have someone on the team because I think they're all necessary. And I'm sure you guys would all agree, from Jeremy to Kat to Sylvia to Mathia to T Wolf. So Kelly says, I am interested about that too. I work in admin position in my public defender office for my county. Nice, Kelly. That's really cool. I give great props to criminal attorneys. That is tough. That is really tough. I couldn't do it. I had dreams of one time of going into being a criminal prosecutor, and I was like, no, I can't do it. I cannot do it. Um, but I was a litigator, and ironically, I think I'm a better lawyer now, even though I'm not acting as lawyer for Zurich now. I'm just everyone there's pretty much lawyers in my department, but anyway, it's awesome. Lo says, Khoth, you show off. He is so showing off, but he's also like, in some ways, he's just like stretching out. That's like his stretch out. So Myra says, yay, I'm finally able to make it. So glad you're here, Myra. Lo says, Gehenna is super helpful. Oh, she always wants to be super helpful, She thinks she's doing it. Kelly's talking about her cats, and she says, the land shark and the sock bandit are what we found out after we got them. Smokey likes to nip and has attacked me numerous times with the scars on my legs to prove it. I know I've got scars on my hands from you. We also call him ankle biter as he likes to go for the ankles. I love when they do that, even though it could sometimes hurt. Bandit is black and white with the black on his face like a mask. He likes to steal and carry socks around the house. Oh, I love that. I mean, I can have like all these expensive toys, and there's Mew with like, the sock. We have brought numerous clean and dirty socks to us when we are sitting in the family room. Thus, he is a sock bandit. Oh, that's awesome. Lurleen says hi. Hey, Lurleen. Shaylina says, my husband was stationed in Okinawa, Japan, and his roommates at the time adopted a Shiba Inu, which is described as fox with a curly tail, and named her Big Mama, but found out they were allergic, so my husband bought her from them as he was already training her and taking care of her, and renamed her Kitsune, which means fox demon in Japanese, and brought her home when he came home. Those are the cutest dogs. Those dogs are so cute. And then Alex says, oh, yes, Jace, you like him. He admires you. Yes, he does. They do. We haven't really, this book is a lot of action, but believe me, there will be time for the slower moments coming. Well, not for a while, to be honest with you, not for a few months, but we will have some times. Hannah says, I'm here. Was helping my dad with physical therapy. He had knee surgery last Tuesday. Oh, I hope he's okay. And you're awesome. What an awesome daughter to do that. Marina says, I just learned to swim. Let me jump into the ocean off a 10-foot cliff. Yeah, that's basically Jace. What do you mean there's an incoming store? Well, crap, they're videoing me. Poor Jace. Our poor Jace. Yes, I know. He like wasn't thinking. He was just being fun, having fun and everything. And yeah, this is his punishment. Kelly says, that is awesome to Shilina. Deltos Matt says, hey, Raythe, I love this chapter. Gehenna using upspeak is hysterical. I know. She told us, she's like, everything's going to be fine. I'm sure you're gonna do great, which is like meaning I'm not sure you are, and I don't think it's gonna be fine. Kelly gives cat names over the years. Caramel, nice. Crystal, Stacy, cat from Great Aunt. Precious, aka Vicious. I like that. Macy, Midnight, changed from Eleanor. Jinx, originally Cracker, and Jax. Nice. I love those. Um, my best friend Chris, he's like, you can't just name her Mew. You got to name her at least Mew Mew. I'm like, no, she's Mew, and she's also the pink nose of doom. Sophie says, I hope they'll dance together at some point. They actually will. I think I mentioned this before. I have this idea in my head, and I hope it comes together that once they're with the crew and everything, that Jace is going to arrange like a dance party, like so people can use the music, show their dance moves, like to show that there's similarities between all of them, even though they're very different, that there's something that they can all enjoy together and have something to show one another. Lois says, how does Koth's hair not get singed slash sliced off? I hadn't thought of that. And you are right. They should have been wearing helmets. Marina says, our cats are named by names they respond to. Damien Amel, Winchester, and Beldame. The French pronunciation, so it sounds like Beldame. Nice. Damien is a hunter, and Belle is a bipolar little cuddle monster. Belle when she is sweet, and Beldame when she is being surly. And oh, we know when cats can be surly. Alec asks, how on earth or off it is the sage dream advisor Gehenna the same as the shy, blushing sorority girl Gehenna? I think how I explained to myself, obviously, I had a different idea for her in the beginning. And yet, here she was in the squid thing, and she was totally different. So I think how I see it is in his dreams, she was very controlled because she could be controlled, and it was not face to face, if you will. She was not with him really. It was a dream that he would only sort of half remember, if at all, versus now that he's awake and they were together and she's with all these people that have mattered to her for a long time, even though they haven't known anything about her. She's now got to make a good impression, and she's totally fearful that she will not. So that's how I explain the difference. But in truth, she grew and changed in my mind. And I think I like this much more than the more, what's Cortana type character that I originally came with. So you guys get to see how the sausage is made. So that's why. But I have an explanation. I have an explanation either way. Claude says, oops, late. No problem. No problem. We're glad to have you here. Kelly says, don't go for the head. Brain heard, go for the head. And then, which one? Gutter brain. I love it. Claude says, good evening here, all the same. Good evening, Claude. And Claude said, his cat's name, my present one, is Munichan. Oh, nice. Lurleen says, my little Stella is a snuggler. She is a shitsuka. I love it. Okay. Alex says, Khoth, tell me your space dreams and hold me through the night. Yes, we definitely need to hear a song of that. Shaylina says, so much for hearing the whole thing. Got a call from a coworker, so missed some time again. It's a curse, I tell you. I know. I always feel so bad that you're like working and going around. Alex says, dance party? I'm hearing one more time by Daft Punk in my head right now. Saya says, before I lived in Japan, I adopted a street cat that had kittens later, so I ended up with 5 cats. Mama cat, Tisan. Babies, Leonidas, Arwen, Aragon, and Azalea. Very nice. Kelly says to Alex, yes, Interstellar. So Kelly, Hannah replying to Kelly says, we have a cat named Goldie, who is an orange tabby. He is an outdoor cat that was rescued from a fire. He started out living 2 houses down. His original owners moved and gave him to our next door neighbors, who gave him to us when they moved. So he's a neighborhood cat. He doesn't go outside as much now because he's 10 years old and has some health problems. Aww. So Zahn Alec agrees, says, hello, peoples. Hello, Alec. Kelly replying to Alec, or trolls. And then Lurleen says, Gehenna had her commanding mama voice when dream training. Yes, she did. She did have her commanding mama voice. Saya says, my ex still has Arwen and Azalea is with my grandparents, but Mama Cat is sadly dead. And the boys ran away, probably a neighbor took them in. Well, that's good that they were taken in, I'm sure. Okay. Shall we continue, my friends? Uh, I know after this I'm going to need to go get more Diet Coke because I'm like out. I am out. All right. Back we go. The laser edge hissed and spat when they came together. Oh, hold on a second. Let me try that again, guys. I saw that there was a mistake. The laser edges hissed and spat when they came into contact with one another. It was the coolest sound ever, and Jace found himself smiling. He looked up at Koth's face, and the Thafel commander was smiling too. And then Koth was swinging that sword so fast that Jace shouldn't have been able to counteract it. But his arm came up all on its own, and he blocked the strike. There was a sizzle, spat, and hiss as blades met and flew away from each other. Their blades met again and again, sizzle, hiss, spat. Jace dove to the side just as Koth chopped the air where he'd been. He felt something touch his left shoulder. When he got up, his hand closed upon it, and he winced. Koth's blade hadn't cut his arm off, but that would leave a mark. Jace slashed at Koth's left side, but his blade didn't even get close to the fell commander's body. Even if Jace hadn't parried, the tip of his blade was a good 6 inches away. He's taller. I need to get under his reach and get close. Jace realized this as Koth sliced the Rahir across where, again, he'd just been standing. But Jace had pivoted and leaned back. The tip of Koth's Rahir just caressed the front of his suit. He felt heat, but no pain this time. Jace dove forward as Koth was recovering from the swing. He popped up just a few inches from Koth's chest and stabbed his Rahir at the Thafel commander. Koth leaped back, but there was a zap, and a line of smoking black appeared on his chest. There was a momentary silence, and then wild claps all around. Jace pumped a hand up in the air as he realized he'd actually managed to hit Koth. "Good job, Jace," his father cried, "but don't get—" His father's last word was drowned out as Koth moved lightning quick, but Jace knew it was cocky. Koth moved faster than before, obviously having gone easy on him. He slashed right, left, right, right, left. Jace was jumping backwards, just a hair's breadth from having his chest painted with black lines. Just as he was running out of room to retreat, he shifted his footing and was able to turn his body and block one of the strikes with his blade. Sparks flashed. The blades whined as they ground together. Khoth bore down on Jace with his considerable weight. Jace was forced down so that he was resting his weight on one knee. His back began to arch away from Khoth as he simply didn't have the strength to remain upright. He reminded himself of being a reed in the wind. "Bend, don't break." Sweat streamed down Jace's face. Khoth wasn't that far from him, and he saw the slight tightening around the eyes and mouth. This was hard for the Thafel commander, too. Suddenly, there was an overlay of glowing orange lines over Khoth's form. Jace could see several wireforms demonstrating moves that would break the stalemate. Jace laughed. "Are you doing this, Gehenna?" he asked her. "No, I think it's the Osiris," she responded. "What are you going to do?" Jace actually didn't need to think too hard. He knew the move that appealed to him. Just as his body was about to completely collapse under Khoth's weight, he said, "This." Jace dropped to both knees. The blades slid along one another with a grinding sound. He struck out with his right leg and connected with Khoth's left knee. The Thafel commander let out a grunt, and his body swayed just a moment. Jace used that momentary unsteadiness to thrust Khoth backwards with much of his last remaining strength. Khoth staggered away, and Jace went onto the offensive, finding dregs of energy he didn't know he had. Whatever fears he had of his body not knowing what to do were seemingly unfounded. Time seemed to slow for him. He could almost linger in that moment as he saw himself lunge from his position on the floor and thrust towards the hand that held Khoth's blade. He caught Khoth's wrist, and Khoth's hand released the Rahir. The blade fell towards the ground, but Jace caught it by the hilt. Khoth brought up his arms to block Jace, but Jace had both blades crossed at Khoth's throat. They both froze, inches apart, sweat coating their faces, breathing coming in ragged gasps. There was silence all around. And then Gehenna said, "You did it, Jace. You were amazing. Even though I trained you, you far exceeded my hopes." Then there was tumultuous applause, whistles, and cries of delight. To Jace's surprise and happiness, Khoth smiled and inclined his head. "You were quite extraordinary, Jace. I believe you will be saving me," Khoth stated. Jace flashed a grin. "I got lucky. You almost had me. You should have had me." Khoth frowned and tilted his head to the side. Osiris had cheated by showing him the way to break Khoth's hold on him. Maybe it wasn't cheating, but Khoth didn't have an AI analyzing Jace's moves. "I'll tell you when we're alone," Jace said. He was suddenly feeling incredibly weak. His head began to thump heavily, like when one of his headaches was coming on. A touch of terror overcame him. Had he overextended himself? He drew the blades down from Khoth's neck, being very careful in his movements so as not to harm the Thafel commander. He handed Khoth his Rahir back. Khoth bowed his head in thanks and took it from Jace, faintly shaking hands. "It's just adrenaline. That's all. I'm fine. I'm fine," Jace told himself. "That was incredible," his father said as he came up to Jace and hugged him. He pulled back and said, "You weren't kidding about that training. You moved so fast. Not to mention with so much skill." "Khoth's really the skilled one, Dad. I may be more programmed to do this stuff. He learned it all on his own," Jace said, feeling terribly shaky like he needed sugar and wondering if there was any food on the Osiris. He saw over his father's shoulder that Khoth was watching him carefully. "Jace, that was—" His mother shook her head as she came over and embraced him too. "You've never held a sword in your life, but you used this one as if you were born with it." The pounding in Jace's head increased. He could hardly hear her words over it. "I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine," he kept repeating. "Well, son, that was some show of skill," the general said as he hovered by his mother's side. "He's never held a sword before, Colonel Parker." His mother grimaced, but quickly hid that look of unhappiness. "No, there's little call to have such a skill." "Especially as a store clerk," the general chuckled. Jace glared at him, even as the whine of tinnitus started in his ears. "You'd be surprised at what a lowly store clerk has to deal with." The general actually smiled. "I wasn't putting down being a clerk, but just comparing it to what one of our soldiers would encounter. The skills you've been given. Well, imagine a whole army of people like you, Jace. We'd be safe from the cool then." Jace frowned. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work that way." "There is only one pilot," the Osiris whispered in his head. He once again looked over at Khoth. The Thafel commander had heard what General Toshkin had said, and the frown on his lips showed this was what he had feared would happen when he saved Jace's life. Thama and Gehenna were standing beside him. He should have wanted his parents right then and there when his body was malfunctioning once more. He should have wanted Gehenna, but he wanted Khoth. This was the man he had counted on before, and he knew he'd count on him again. "Excuse me, I just want to congratulate Khoth again," Jay said as he turned from his parents and the general. He walked carefully as the pounding in his head and the whine in his ears was distracting as it always was. Gehenna was looking at Khoth's exosuit and examining the damage, making observations about the duel. Thama was grinning at Jace, but her grin changed to a look of concern. That concerned look was mirrored on Khoth's face. "What is wrong, Jace?" Khoth asked him softly. Jace licked suddenly dry lips. The sweat on his face felt cold, and he shivered. "I think I need to sit down somewhere with some food and water. Could you find me someplace? Could you find someplace for me to do that?" Khoth nodded and put a hand around his shoulders. Jace leaned into that large body that he just fought so hard against. He was grateful for that strength and size now. "Just pretend we're going to look at something in the armory," Jace told Khoth. "Jace, what is wrong?" Khoth asked again. "Not sure. May have overdone it or something," Jace said. Gehenna was suddenly in his head. Oh, you need sustenance. Your body burned through your slender resources. You mean the coffee and bite of toast I had this morning? Yeah, that feels like last year, Jace told her. I just need a brief moment without someone dying or something crazy going on, told Khoth as they moved into an adjoining room. What can I do? Thama asked. Get him food and drink, Khoth stated. She nodded and headed out quickly. Knowing Thama, Jace bet she had snacks stashed everywhere. Gehenna hovered by them helplessly as Khoth helped him sit on top of a low cabinet. Jace put his face in his hands and rubbed his temples. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Why do you not want your parents or the general to know of your condition? Khoth asked. Because they'll want to test me, and I don't want the general to think he can make an army of super soldiers by what he finds from that testing, Jace answered, still rubbing circular motions on his temples. He was shocked when Khoth took over for him, massaging his head. He gasped as the pain retreated almost immediately, as Khoth seemed to know exactly where to touch on his head to release the pressure. Whatever you're doing, don't stop, Jace begged. I did this for my sister. She often had headaches, Khoth said, then clamped his lips shut as if afraid more would come out. His sister was killed by the Cool, Gehenna informed Jace. He was exiled here because he went into a Cool ship to help her. The only way one can help a prisoner of the Cool. You mean he had to kill his own sister? Jace gasped. Yes. Gehenna's voice was filled with sadness. Can an army of super soldiers be made? Khoth asked quietly. There's only one pilot, the Osiris whispered. No, Jace said with a shake of his head that brought more pain and dislodged Khoth's hands, but thankfully the fell commander continued the petting. For better or worse, it's just me. Just you. From everything I've seen of you, Jace Parker, we should all be grateful you are the pilot, Khoth told him. A stab of guilt went through him. Even after what I said about not helping the Alliance? Khoth nodded. I should have thought about what I said. To ask you to abandon humanity is not fair. It is not realistic that you could justify letting your whole race potentially be destroyed to save other races. The Cool will be back here. They'll take revenge on humanity if nothing else, Jay said. They likely would. So, what do we do about that? Jace asked. First, we end the suffering of those in the Cool ships, Khoth stated, and then we find a compromise. Woohoo, I made it to the end of chapter 17 without dying. I need to go get some more Diet Coke, though. I really hope you guys are enjoying this. I am having such a fun time with this story. I'm loving live reading it. I'm loving hearing your comments. So just give me like 2 seconds so that I can go get something to drink. Okay, I'm back, just pouring some out. Let's see what we got here. In the comments. Oh, wow. Let's see here. Wow, I'm having to. So Kelly says, the soul can live on Diet Coke alone. Yes, Kelly. Yes, it can. Marina says, oh no, there must always be offerings of Diet Coke for the Raythe. There must be. I know, seriously, yeah? Hannah says, where do I send them? Oh, yes. Illinois. Yes, offerings of Diet Coke to Illinois. So Marina replying to Kelly says, I think the general response to that is almost always challenge accepted. Valerie says, I'm late and you're talking all about cats. My girl is hella mean. She makes no apologies. I love those hella mean cats because, then when they cuddle with you, it's like, oh my God, she loves me. And then she hates me the next second. Marina says, these heavy action scenes being read to me help me see what's going on so much better than straight reading them, partly because I get the author's intended inflections, partly because I'm not as tired because I read chapters as they come out at ass o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I know. I'm like always writing them well beyond like to 1, 2 in the morning. Like it's just, that is the way. That is the way. But I'm glad that that's helping you. And the inflections too really, to me, it's like they're naturally baked in there. So, but of course, for a reader, they are not. Alex says, heavy breathing. Hannah says, I feel like I've seen that move before. You have. You should recognize it. It's an Anakin move that he used against Count Dooku. Count Dooku. That's what I based it off of. I had to do that because I love me some Anakin. Marina says, oh, and now the blood sugar drop. Hang in there, Jace. I know, seriously, this poor kid. Kelly says, Raythe, I did want to clarify about job at Public Defender's Office. I am in charge of file management. My God, woman. I am a support staff, not a lawyer. I actually have a BA in history and have my secondary ed cert for PA before I choose to let the teaching certificate go, as it was not leading to a job with benefits. I feel you. Tempted general clerk and got hired to work there 2 years ago now. That's awesome. No, I mean, anyone who's working in the law, they know how hard that is. I think that in all honesty, even though, what you're doing is hugely important. It's hugely important. I mean, with the criminal justice system, it's people's lives, no matter what part of it you're doing. And you're doing something very important. Kelly says, I am excited for the junk food chapter. Oh, yes. Lo says, awfully nice of you to let Jace win, Khoth. He at first was really not trying too hard, and then he should have realized that Jace was a formidable opponent. Although Khoth is the better swordsman. I mean, he is he has learned this. Like, not to say, and Khoth has, is really just, he's brilliant at it. He truly is amazing. Kelly says, there is only one pilot. Is Jace a version of the Highlander? In a way, yes. Alex says, no super armies, please. We are having enough issues with armed hooligans as it is. I know, seriously. Let's not do that, shall we? And that's part of why there's only one pilot, because this kind of power in more than one person's hands is hugely problematic. It's probably problematic in one person's hands, to be honest with you. But Jace is a good egg. Marina says, does anyone else have a particular voice for Osiris? I always hear a mostly inflectionless male voice with some mechanical reverb. That's actually how I think about it, to be honest with you. Alec replying to Marina, end of line. Marina says, yes, that's exactly what it is. Kelly says, yes, stop making me show my nerd. Lo says, that's how I hear it too. We all hear it. Marina says, never. Alex says, Auk, it's a living. Alec, no, seriously. Alex says, I want to get rid of my brother sometimes. Don't we all? Delto says, Khoth has magic fingers. I expect to hear Jace say that again down the road. Oh my God, Matt, you were terrible and wonderful, and that's why I love you. Marina says, Khoth is going to end up the only magic boyfriend that is not actually magic. Yeah, that's true. He's so true. Hannah, they're still talking about Osiris's voice going, danger, Will Robinson. Sorry for the beeping. That's my dishwasher. Kelly replying to Alec, that is part of the sibling rivalry and birth order annoyance. I am the oldest of 3 with younger siblings being identical twins. Wow. Oh, wow. A lot. I have 2 older brothers, but I swear I feel like the oldest of all of them, and they treat me like that. I think because there's 9 years between me and the oldest and 6 years between me and the middle one. So it's almost like I am an only child. Myra asks, I apologize if this has been previously addressed, but how tall are Jace and Khoth? So Jace is probably about 5'9". Khoth is probably 6'5". Alex says, you should get Diet Coke to be a sponsor. I keep trying, Alec. I keep begging them. You know, I will be their biggest supporter. I really and truly. But I suppose they're already getting my money, so they're like, no. I don't know if they'd be really pleased to. They should be pleased to be a sponsor. Damn it. As Diet Coke went down the wrong tube. Kelly replying to Alex says, psychological torture instead of physical, mostly. I don't know what they're talking about. I'm missing that. Shalina says, am I weird that when I'm doing chores, I'm listening to either stories, podcasts, or sport anime? No, I totally have YouTube on constantly when I'm doing stuff. This conversation between like Shaylina, Kelly, and Alec, I don't know what this is about. So I will not keep reading it because it's not like they're having a good time. Saya says, haha, letting my pup out for her early morning potty time, and she's not fully awake and just keeps staring at my grinning face like I am being stupid or something. Her face is too cute. I'm for that. Delta says, will it be the Osiris or just Osiris? Personification? It's funny because I would just have Osiris and I'd put the in as I'm reading. I think it's the Osiris. I think I need to fix that. Laura says, gah. Now I have a job that won't allow me to come when it's starting, but I'm here now. It's so good you're here. Delta says, actually, when I hear Osiris, I think Patrick Stewart. I can see why you would think that because it's very formal. But at the same time, I think Patrick Stewart has too warm tone. He's just, maybe because I just associate him with, his characters like Jean-Luc. All right, so we are going to go into chapter 18. It looks like my voice is going to survive. So here's the first part of chapter 18. Remember to keep up with the comments. I'm happy to read them. Chapter 18. Junk food. Khoth watched Jace drink water. Jace drank and drank and drank until the bottle was dry. He lowered it and wiped his mouth with the back of his right hand. Khoth took the empty bottle from him. More, please, Jace said. I didn't know I was so thirsty. Indeed. Khoth gave Jace another bottle, which Jace cracked open and downed in 2 swallows this time. A third bottle was soon in hand. Khoth glanced at all of the food and drink that Thama had been able to find. It wasn't an auspicious selection. There was some old-looking fruit, bags of chips with different flavors like ranch, which Khoth had thought was a type of home on this world, not to mention long sticks of a meat-like substance in a plastic material, something called ho-hos, and varieties of hard, sticky substances with names like Jolly Ranchers. When Thama had dumped the armful of food and the case of water down on the nearby table, Khoth had looked at it skeptically. Thama had bellowed. What? It's all I had in my locker. Thama had answered. It's good. Khoth's lips had pursed. I believe some protein paste would be space paste. Thama had laughed as she'd used the derogatory term for the perfect mixture of nutrients on every starship. I had Jack tried some of that. It was not a good outcome. It is perfectly acceptable for human biology, Khoth answered crisply. It is all the nutrients he vomited, Khoth. Profusely, Thama interrupted, and even after his stomach was empty, he continued to retch. It was a bad time. Can I have a Slim Jim? Jace asked after another swallow of water, which brought Khoth out of his thoughts, but not far away from the food. Khoth picked up the meat-like substance, formed into a stick shape. There was a dark red oil surrounding the stick that stained the plastic. He turned to the ingredient list and began to read. Every ingredient has his frown deepening. Khoth, come on, don't read the ingredients, Jace whined. Why not? Khoth's frown was becoming permanently etched into his face as he went down the list of chemicals in the Slim Jim. Because no one wants to know what's in them, Jace laughed. Why would you eat something unless you were certain of its nutrient value? Khoth was tempted to throw the Slim Jim in the trash. Because it tastes good? Jace gave him huge eyes. And I'm hungry. Please? Come on, throw me a Slim Jim. I would not feed these to my worst enemy. Khoth sent the Slim Jim flying to a trash receptacle that had appeared. No! Jace cried as both of them watched a small robotic creature take the trash and disappear through an opening in the far wall that slid silently shut. What have you done? Saved you, Khoth stated simply. He was scanning the fruits, grapes, and a package of blueberries, and he frowned again. These had traces of pesticides that were cancer-causing agents. Jay should not be allowed to eat these either. And the bottles the water were in contained— Khoth, I'm starving! More big eyes at him. Perhaps the vomiting had been a unique reaction of Captain Parker, so Khoth suggested, I have an emergency supply of protein-based. Don't do it, son, Captain Parker said as he came to the room with a plate piled high with bread, meat, and other condiments that the humans called sandwiches. I didn't recover from a mouthful of that vile substance for a week. Don't you remember when I was constantly running to the bathroom? Jace blinked, then laughed. He pointed to his father's chest. Oh my God, I do remember. And Mom said you just had a touch of the flu, but it was really alien food. Some alien food is good, Captain Parker said, but protein paste. He didn't finish the sentence, but just shuddered. Captain Parker put the plate down on the cabinet. Khoth immediately began to scan the sandwiches, but Jace grabbed the whole plate and turned his back to Khoth, blocking the scanner. He then began to stuff them into his mouth. Around bread and meat, Jace mumbled, I'm not taking this away. I brought some full sugar Coke as well, Captain Parker said as he placed 6 red and white aluminum cans on the counter. Oh, God, yeah, Jace mumbled around more sandwiches. He was dropping bits of crust on the ground, so as he couldn't quite close his mouth around his big bites. Khoth wanted to tell him to slow down, but Jace was curled protectively over the sandwiches, and when Khoth went to scan the Coke, Jace made a growling noise and curled an arm around the cans, so Khoth backed off reluctantly. He would scan the dregs later and stop Jace from having more after this meal if it was filled with the toxins and cancer-causing chemicals that seemed to be in everything else. Has the food police been at it again? Thama asked as she came into the room and saw Jace hovering protectively over his meal. Jace, haha, need a drink here. Hold on. Jace nodded and sent Khoth a narrow-eyed glance, as if he didn't quite trust him to let Jace eat this terrible meal. He threw away a Slim Jim, Jace cried after swallowing a mouthful of sandwich. No, Thama looked stricken. Where is it? There was this little robot guy that took it away, Jace told her. The Osiris must agree with me that this food, and I only call it that lightly, is filled with toxins and is not fit to eat, Khoth stated stiffly. Captain Parker, who had been opening a bag with the word Fritos printed in colorful yellow lettering, quickly dropped it back on the counter and tried to pretend that he hadn't been about to poison himself. It is called junk food for a reason, Thama agreed, which shocked him because she had been the one to bring it. Junk is a very apt description of it, Khoth said with a nod, even as he watched Jace eat more of it with growing concern. Jace purposefully stuffed another sandwich in his mouth and opened a plastic bag that had the word Doritos in bright red lettering on it. These junk foods all seemed to use bright primary colors that reminded Khoth of children's toys. It certainly attracted attention like a toy. Thama gestured towards the Cokes. Can I have one, or do you need them all? Go ahead, drink away. Jace opened one of the cans, and there was a pop and then a hiss of carbonation. He chugged half the can. After swallowing, he let out a moan, allowing his head to tip back. Sugar, caffeine, so good. Thama followed suit. So bad, but so good. I know, right? Jace laughed. Thama, you have called this food and drink junk, yet you indulge in it as if it's like a drug, Khoth. A wonderful drug. You should try some. She thrust a can of Coke at him. He recoiled, which had both her and Jace laughing. Even Captain Parker snorted as Khoth smoothed down his exosuit, trying to pretend he had not been afraid of a simple can of Coke. Don't worry. If you don't want it yet, that just means there's more for us, Thama said. She then slung an arm around Jace's shoulders. They leaned into one another companionably, and Khoth was surprised at his Z letting out a pain of jealousy. He knew that this was illogical. Had he not been able to rub Jace's temples earlier? Had the young man not reached out to him after the duel? So what? Thama could hug Jace. He could do it too. as easily, if he wanted. Thama wiggled her eyebrows at him, noticing his stare. He became still as stone and just as impervious to her barbs of amusement at his expense. But Khoth's annoyance with Thama bled away as he saw that Jace's cheeks had a warm color. His eyes sparkled again. Food and drink seemed to have been the problem. Khoth wanted to run tests on Jace to see if his systems were fully functioning, but Jace's violent reaction to being tested, and almost angry horror at it, stayed Khoth's hands. Whatever he could discover through scanning Jace was not worth the young man's fear. He will trust me in time. But the moment he thought that, he saw his mother's face. He could almost hear her telling him that making Jace Parker trust him would be good for the Alliance, that he should do whatever was necessary to get Jace on their side. His hands curled into fists. These were the compromises that his mother had to make in order to move the Alliance in the direction she thought was best. It had been determined early on that Desa, and not himself, were better suited to command at the highest levels because Khoth balked at taking certain actions. Do not take Mother's assessment of your nature as a criticism, Desa had urged him. But is it not a criticism? He tilted his head at her, keeping his voice as neutral as possible. Desa had sighed. Only if one thinks the highest good is where we end up and now how we get there. One should try to get to the proper ends by the proper means, Khoth had responded stiffly, but he already knew that was the wrong answer. But his sister had smiled sweetly at him. Yes, Khoth, that is a good way of seeing the universe and one's part in it. Khoth thought of his sister's ultimate fate then. If he could have saved Desa by doing something underhanded, something improper, would he not have done it? Who cared about acting properly if one lost at the end? That was his mother's point that he had not understood until the stakes were so very high. Yet, when he looked at Jace, he wanted to be proper. He did not wish to be underhanded to win this young man's allegiance. But to not gain it is to have Jace as an enemy or even an unwilling ally would be a disaster, as much as losing Desa was to the Alliance cause. Captain Parker was watching Jace closely too. There was a momentary look of relief on his face at Jace's renewed strength. Though Jace's parents must have wanted to have Jace examined to see that he was functional and to find out what changes had been made to him, they were both being exceptionally careful not to crowd Jace or let their concerns show. Khoth appreciated this measured Za approach, but it was confusing to him as it conflicted with what he had heard of humans. After the duel, when Jace had reached out for him instead of the elder Parkers, Khoth had felt a wave of something. His emotions were unreadable to him, even for the surprise that he had been chosen over people Jace clearly loved and trusted implicitly. That had inspired him to act as well, so he'd touched Jace, and when he'd done it, it had been natural to try and soothe him. He did not understand why that was, but like with Desa, he found himself acting more on instinct than logic. Your parents are concerned, Jace. They are going to come in, Khoth had said to him. Already he could see through the glass walls that the Parkers were stirring. General Antoshkin was still enamored of the weaponry, but the Parkers were thinking only of their son. Yeah, I just need a minute or two to recover, and then I can face them. Gehenna? Jace had looked up at the squid. Yes, Jace. Her answer appeared on Khoth's suit screen, as well as being heard by Jace telepathically. Block my parents, please. Tell them I need a sandwich, Jace said, then muttered, I hope that's all I do need. But Thama is already obtaining sustenance. I could eat a horse, Gehenna. Now that I'm letting myself feel it, I am completely starving, Jace told her. That's got to be what's wrong with me. I can't be going back to how I was. Your vital signs are strong, Gehenna assured them both. But this new form needs more nutrition, and you have been going since this morning. Remember, you did just face off against the Cool, and then you decided to fight Khoth too, and you— Yes. Let's not go through my many missteps today. Jace laughed and winced. Khoth rubbed his temples some more, and the tight expression left Jace's face. Please, Gehenna, if you would speak with my parents, Jace said. Of course, Jace. Oh, I hope they will listen to me. Gehenna glided out of the room. Through the glass walls, they both watched as Gehenna physically blocked the Parker's way. When Captain Parker attempted to dodge around her, she stretched out some tendrils that had the captain backing away. Finally, the two elder Parkers got out their phones and Gehenna was able to speak with them that way. She's really got to fix her speech box or whatever, Jace said dryly. If she gives herself the voice she has in my head, she won't frighten people as much as a giant metallic squid does. Indeed, Khoth agreed. But then his mind turned to other things far more perplexing than Gehenna's choice of form. Earlier, what did you mean when you indicated that you had not won fairly? Jace's eyelids had almost completely shut from Khoth's massage. He opened them slightly. Oh, yeah, well, the Osiris helped me in the fight. When you had me down on one knee, it showed me various methods to attack you, like the perfect strikes. I see. But no, I do not see. How is that not winning fairly? You used your abilities to defeat me, Khoth pointed out. There's a big difference between what you are able to do because you've trained for decades and what I can do because I plugged into a tank and then am given pinpoint direction as to where your flaws are by an AI, Jace replied dryly. On the contrary, the AI, two AIs in fact, are a part of you. They are as much a part of you as my greater strength and speed are, Khoth answered with a shrug. We are all given various advantages and disadvantages. Okay, I need to take a break here because it's more than half the chapter. And I just dripped Diet Coke on my computer. Okay, what do we got here? Discussion of junk food, I think. Okay, let me see here. Keep going up. Ooh, I'm missing a lot. Ooh, we got a lot of comments. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Laura says, no, somebody remembers Knight Rider. Totally Osiris's voice. Oh my gosh, yes, I totally get that. But that's more human than Osiris's. Osiris doesn't have really emotions yet, I guess is the way to say it. I don't know. Alex says, I am nothing if not your embedded comic relief. You are, my friend. You are. Marina says, junk food. Yes, absolutely. Kelly says, torture comment was to the regards that my younger sisters use their identical nature to play mind games on me. It always was 2 against 1. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Alex said, blued instead of blushing. Yes, because it has to be, remember, they don't turn red. They turn blue, a darker blue. Pam says, it is so cute how Khoth is taking care of Jace. Yes, he is. He's very loving, though he does not know it. Hannah says, Slim Jims are so yummy. Don't hate on them, Khoth. They are so yummy. Oh my God. They're just like, this is the weirdest food because, it's oily and yet dry and yet awesome. Marina says, chemical-laden, weird, not real food things. Khoth attempting to chuck my junk food would spark the throwdown of the galaxy. Don't mess with my Swiss cake rolls. The universe will suffer. I know, seriously. We've got to give him, something he loves of that. Sophie says, this chapter with Khoth and the junk food is just the best. Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure after all this, really serious stuff that we have going on that I had to slow it down for a junk food scene. I was like, oh, I hope they're not mad at that. Kelly, I would not feed these to my worst enemies. Why not? Maybe junk food would be the ultimate weapon against an alien invasion. I know, the cool are, are taken down by donut holes. Alex says, my mother tried in vain to tell her German cousin what a Twinkie was. They have nothing quite like it over there. That's they're lucky. Or maybe not. I don't know. Hannah says, do you think Khoth would throw out my chicharrones, pork rinds? That's a good question because that is natural. It's not chemical, so probably not. Hannah says Slim Jims would kill the cool. Yes, exactly. Marina says yellow sponge cake with frosting center. How is that complicated? But there's so much more than that and so much less at the same time. Kelly says to Alec, so the U.S. had the market on junk food? No surprise. No, I think other countries, when I lived in England, they had great cookies. which they called biscuits, which always threw me. But they had great biscuits. Oh my God, I love their biscuits. And their chocolate selection was awesome. So they have plenty of junk food. Oh, and they have like all these different kinds of potato chips, which they call crisps. And I mean, there's like a prawn flavor, which sounds just bizarre, but it was all great. It was so great. Crystal says, poor Jace, saddled with a health food. Yes, he's supposed to be nut. Yes, he's a nut. Kelly says, food police. Does this make Khoth a member of the FDA? Well, you could say that. Marina says, the FDA doesn't kill food joy like Khoth does. He really does. Protein paste, anyone? Alex says, Jon Stewart once tried serving a Twinkie to the president of Pakistan. Turned out his culture doesn't consider it an edible foodstuff, so he declined. Oh, a smart man. Joe says, popping in at work. Can't wait to listen later. Hi, Joe. Kelly says, and Thama has been humanized. Yes, she has. She's been won over by Thanksgiving and junk food. And Twilight. Shaylin says, I am laughing my butt off with Jace's protectiveness of his food after the Slim Jim throw, which will be forevermore be known as the Slim Jim incident. I know. Wars were started for less than that. Alex says, yes, Marina, she explained that, but his reaction was along the lines of, why on earth would anyone eat that? Deltos Matt says, Khoth, you may separate Jace from many things in the universe, but never will you separate a man from his can of Coke. You will learn to accept liquid, please. Kelly says, and Raythe, I really feel you were the one singing the praises of Coke instead of Jace there. Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's true. Marina says, Thama and I have similar views on people not liking foods we like. You know, like? More from me. Not everyone needs to be a convert. So damn true. Lo says, I'm such a sucker for the bright logos on the bags. We eat with our eyes first. It's so true. They're very happy bags, I think. I really love their packaging. Alex says, same here. I love me some raw oysters. Oh, I love them too, but with a mignonette sauce. Marina says, going back to Khoth's favorite food thread, what if Khoth found organic onions awesome and ate them like apples? Oh, God, yeah. And then we'll all be cringing and running away from him. Marina says, the video stopped for me. Is this happening to anyone else? I'm sorry. You reloaded and fixed the problem. That's good. Shaylina says, speaking of junk food, I am so eating my mom's popcorn. My mom's popcorn is the best. What does she do to make it the best? I got some awesome, like organic popping kernels from some local farms, and they've been awesome. And he says, me too. Oh no. Yep, had to refresh the page. Oh, that really bums that a lot of people had that happen. Sounds like an Elric Bex convo. Oh my God, yeah. Okay, fresh to work. Okay, that's not good. Kelly says the eye drawing wine labels are what helps in trying it. That's true. Definitely wine labels and wine names really help. Kelly says adult beverages are my junk food and dark chocolate. Oh, both things are awesome. Kelly, thus I practice moderation. I do not, but I'm with you. Laura says I'm more of juice box or milk box. Adult beverage definitely no longer for me. I get you. Myra says, of course, I would get a very important call. So now I don't know if Raythe answered my question. Damn. I did up above. So you'll have to probably look back at it. I've answered every question so far. Shaylina says to Marina, as much as I love onions, I would veto onions as I don't want Khoth's breath to be onion breath. Oh, God, no. Laura says to Marina, or just raw baby squid. I don't know what's going on there. Lurleen says, Khoth is so noble in insisting that despite help from an AI, the fight was still fair. Yeah, I know. That's really something. But I think he, in a way, he is seeing the ends versus the means. He is seeing that if it's part of you, it's part of you. That's how that is. Kelly says, I don't buy much in sugar-based items as I'm not the late teen, early 20-something. Also, I only enjoy adult beverages more on days I will not be operating vehicles and working. That's true. I shouldn't be having any sugar and stuff like that, but I do. And adult beverages when I shouldn't. I'm just not as controlled as the rest of you. Alex says, How many cans do you go through in one reading, or is that classified? Well, I have the mini cans right here, so I've gone through three um, right now because the mini cans are like half a can, so one and a half. Um, and Claude says, should I say that reading the junk food description, I felt like Khoth? Oh, come now. Surely you have some good stuff. Kat says, same, though I make my own version of protein paste, so maybe I can't talk. Oh, and you love cake, Kat. You love cake. You are the mistress of cake, so. Um, Laura says, I like baby squid, but not everyone agrees with it. Haha. I like it deep fried. Crystal says, I love salt and vinegar chips. Me too. My coworkers ask if that doesn't affect my cholesterol. I say, who cares? I'll die happy. Yeah, seriously. Saya says, sushi and chocolate for me. Oh, they're so delicious. Alex says, is Jace even capable of getting fat anymore? No, because this is my fantasy, and that's how we're dealing with it. Yeah. I think basically his body should be able to use most anything for fuel. Kelly replying to Alec, oh my God, I would be so mad that was possible and we couldn't get the benefits. Damn you, Osiris. Yeah, I know, seriously. I'm waiting for that pill too. All right, so let us finish up the chapter. And then we will go from there. But what I have wasn't earned, Jace told him with a shake of his head. We were not dueling to determine who has earned the win. We were dueling to determine your abilities in a fight against an opponent that is far superior to yourself, Khoth reminded him. Jace's lips twitched. Far superior, huh? Yes, it is simple biology, Jace. Thafel are superior to humans in our strength, speed, and intellect, Khoth told him. That had Jace curling over. Khoth feared the young man was in pain, but those intriguing eyes were filled with mirth when Jace sat up again. He was laughing so hard that tears appeared in them. He wiped them away. Oh man, and here I was worried that you would take losing badly, Jace teased. I have no doubts about my abilities. I am quite superior. Yes, I know. And you're right, you're amazing. The AIs just leveled the playing field a little bit, Jace said with a nod. But now that I know that particular move you made, I shall not make the same mistake twice in our next training session, Khoth informed him. Jace's eyebrows rose. You want a duel again? Of course. Do you think you have nothing to learn from me or Thama or others? Khoth asked. Jace blinked. Oh, I think I have tons to learn. The young man then looked up at him through dark lashes as he added, especially from you, though. Then we shall train every cycle, Khoth told him with a firm nod, feeling that heat again from examining this time Jace's eyes and not his nude body. A smile curled Jace's full lips, which had Khoth staring at them for far too long before Jace says, sounds like a plan. Now those lips were devouring sandwiches at an alarming rate, but Jace's color was even better than before, his movements crisper and his eyes brighter. Perhaps the brightness came from his belief that Khoth was going to take away the food again, though. Jace, maybe you and I could talk alone for a moment, Captain Parker asked, his eyes meaningfully going to Khoth and Thama. Anything you want to say can be said in front of them, Jace said as he ate another sandwich. The them was himself and Thama. The flight commander grinned as she settled back against a wall to listen to whatever information Captain Parker wished to impart. Captain Parker grimaced. I don't think you fully understand that the Alliance hasn't really been our friend, that Khoth and Thama could be ordered to grab me and take me to Halcyon. Yeah, I know. But that's not going to happen, Jace told his father as he finished the last sandwich and gave the plate a sad look. How can you be so sure that Khoth's mom won't order us to dump you in the back of a spaceship and take you to Halcyon? Thama asked. Because I'm going to prove to her that I'm better off as a free agent. Besides, the Osiris and Gehenna wouldn't let you guys, Jace said with a shrug. I noticed you didn't put the U.S. military in that, Captain Parker said. Won't get that far. Besides, if you thought I had some moves, Gehenna and Osiris far outstrip me. Jace sipped yet another Coke before continuing. And that's not what you want to tell me about anyway. You're worried about our side, about the general. That's why Mom has been in there with him, going through every weapon instead of checking on me. Captain Parker blinked. How do you know that? I could say that I'm just that smart, but it's Gehenna. Jace tilted his head towards the squid, who was hovering behind the general and his mother as they went through the holographic catalog of weapons and armor. She's telling me everything they are saying. Plus, she can read body language. Well, sometimes. I'm helping her with that. Parker snorted. Huh. It's amazing for something that big that she still seems to be able to hide. Gehenna was between two of the gun racks, but she was being quiet, if not looming. I know, right? Thing is, she's got a total crush on Mom, but she's afraid Mom hates her and will never forgive what happened with me, Khoth said as he drained the first Coke and popped open another one. Khoth really had to find out what was in that drink. Crush? Gehenna has crushes? Captain Parker looked a little stunned. Jace nodded. She's really cute about it. But anyways, I know you're worried. You don't exactly need to be, because it's not just you and Mom protecting me. We will keep you safe as well, Jace, Khoth said stoutly. He was rewarded by a smile. I know. We'll figure this out. We just haven't had time. Jace looked down at his Coke can and bit his lower lip. Khoth wondered what he was thinking. His whole existence has seemingly been changed. He has not had a moment to accept this. Jace drew in a breath and looked up, smiling. Well, I feel better, a lot better. So we should head out to the cool ship's, Khoth. Captain Parker came over to his son and grasped his biceps. Jace, you just had a moment of, I was hungry, thirsty, low blood sugar. It was stupid to not realize what these feelings were earlier, Jace said quickly. We need to help those people. Jace. Captain Parker's jaw tightened. I don't know if I want this for you. Jace nodded. I know, but it is me. I just want you to have time. I know, Dad. Me too. Jace let out his faint smile. But Dad, people are suffering, and I can stop that. Khoth approved of Jace's words, but like Captain Parker, he suddenly wished Jace to remain behind and rest. Jace, I can go with Thama and send the images back to you and the others, Khoth found himself saying. Thama's huge eyes told him what he had just said was unexpected, but that she approved. That undoubtedly meant his mother would not approve. Was he breaking the rule again? But Jace saved him from himself. The young man shook his head. No, Khoth, I'm going with you, Jace said. We're doing this together. Khoth inclined his head slowly. Okay, Osiris, Jace said to the room about them as he rubbed his hands together. We're going to need some equipment and weapons. Impress us. And that is the end of chapter 18. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. That's probably one of my favorite chapters so far to have written. So I'm really excited about it. What are the comments here? Oh, Christmas. So, Kat says, I love cake, but only when I know what's in it. That's true. But still, it's got sugar. And sugar is the devil. But I love the devil. So Myra says, I know how Khoth's family and species in general are about homosexuality. On that, how will Jace's mom and dad react to that as well? Totally fine. That's, I they are such, I think that they're such loving, smart people that it would be hard for me that they would have any problem with it. They're more worried that he's sleeping with the enemy, not that he's sleeping with a man. Hannah says, anyone who has ever made their own jerky can consider it like delicious protein based. You're right. Yes. That's true. But it's funny. I don't really like homemade jerky. I only like Slim Jims, which means it's the chemicals. Alex says, and he's immortal too, or this is Christmas. Well, the thing is that his body continually regenerates. So that really is immortality. Although I imagine if they cut off his head, that would probably put an end to it. Shaylin says, Mom's popcorn. I don't know. It's just delicious. I know it has real butter, butter-flavored seasoning, and salt, and maybe she adds love. Oh, love is the best. Kelly says to Kat, food allergies are health. Kat's just she's a wonderful baker. And she brings over stuff when we do our weekly lunches, which is really our work meeting. We revolve around food. Kelly says to Alec, I could live without the immortality. Body shape and health would be good. Oh, I want both. I want it all. Alex said, but there's a whole multiverse to explore. That's absolutely right. Lo says to Myra, my guess would be the other species would find it bizarre that so many humans find something as natural as sexuality to be immoral. Yeah. And the Thafal themselves are very there's a lot of gender fluidity. There's a lot of, it's really not For them, that's not even an issue at all. At all. Myra says to Myra, I would think so myself as well, especially seeing as that they're more advanced and progressive than humans. But, you never know. It could be an issue. I don't necessarily stay them away from that, but I think there are so many books featuring gay characters that deal with coming out and having your parents against that. And honestly, I write for the adventure of it. I write to get away from the everyday. I think I've always wanted to, and I know this might sound strange. No, it probably won't sound strange to you guys, but I always sort of wanted to like have characters that, that were, it was a gay man, but he's James Bond. But being a gay man does not make him not James Bond. I just want a James Bond that may be interested in men, or they could be Indiana Jones and be gay instead of being the typical thing. And I think it's because for me anyway, um, there is so many minefields with MF. I really feel so many things that turn me off, and I don't have that turn off with MM. That's a very long subject, obviously. Let's see here. Crystal says, so hard being the parent of an adult child wanting to protect but needing to let go. And both of Jace's parents, and that's very true, both of Jace's parents are people of action. Both of them take risks every day. His mom is, in addition to being, the commander of this whole base, she is actually like an expert shot. She's really a woman of action. Sophie said, thank you. This was an awesome chapter. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Mara says, oops, that response was obviously for you. Sophie says, I guess Jace's parents would be more worried that their son is sleeping with an alien than he's sleeping with a guy. Yes, that's exactly it. Delta's Matt said, oh, Raythe, that will be a great line. Down the road, worried about sleeping with the enemy, not a man. I love it. Yes, exactly. Kat says, extreme acid reflux, maltodextrin equals pain. Yeah, she has those issues. Kelly is like, put a sad face. So guys, this was amazing as always. I absolutely love it. We do have no more of these scheduled for July, but July is almost over. We will have more in August. I think they should go up as normal. The only caveat to that is issues with, and I don't think there will be issues. So either I'll be done or I'll be in big, deep trouble. Would be Cinders and Ashes, but I don't think so. So, Kelly asked Kat if she's ever made a blueberry buckle. If she has, I don't think she has, but Kat, you better make that for me. I want it. Things to look forward to coming up. We are, like I said, Cinders and Ashes is coming up. We'll have more live readings next month. I've really loved hearing from you guys, as I always do, because to be honest with you, writing normally is very lonely work, but when I have you all here, it is not. It makes it seem like a wonderful time. It is a wonderful time, rather. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will be talking to you soon, my friends. Take care. Love you guys. Bye.